and I'm back with another video. Today I want to share with you my August wrap-up. August was a pretty decent reading month considering July was so terrible. I ended up reading 11 books, so they're definitely a lot better than July, where I just read 4. Yeah. So let's talk about the books that I read in August and just from one end to another. The first book that I read, I already talked about that a little bit in a video before, but that was Finlay Donovan is Killing It by Elle Cosimano. I believe that's the author's name. This is the first in the series, and it's been in a very popular series that's been floating around BookTube, and I have seen a lot of hype surrounding it, and I didn't know where I'd fall on it, but I ended up actually really enjoying it. It's a mystery that follows this woman who is writing romantic suspense, an author writing romantic suspense. She has an ex-husband who she has 2 kids with, and he doesn't think that her choice of profession is anything that will give her anything, so she's kind of fighting a custody battle, and then one day someone asks her to help her to kill her husband, seeing that she must be like a perfect fit for that. And she reluctantly does this, but ends up probably biting over more than she could chew, and it all moves on from there. It was a very fun experience. I really enjoyed the characters, the humor, the tone in the story was something I really enjoy. So I definitely really enjoyed it and will continue with it. And I ended up actually giving it a 5 out of 5 stars. I definitely didn't expect that, but a really good start to the month. The next thing that I finished was Live and Let Shy by Bree Baker. This is the first book in a series, and Bree Baker is also a pseudonym for Julianne Lindsay, who is a category romance author writing a lot for the Intrigue line on the Harlequins Intrigue line, but she also does cozy mysteries under that pen name. I ended up really enjoying this one, but I believe we are following someone who has this cafe in town, and immediately, like the one of the policemen in town claims her to be behind it because it was poisoned by one of her the murder victim was poisoned by one of her teas, making everyone suspicious of her and actually making things a little bit difficult for the store and stuff. But she takes it upon herself to try and figure out what actually went on, and as time goes on and on, she has a lot more threats coming towards her, and this was very, very interesting. So I really enjoyed that one as well, and I ended up giving it a 4 out of 5 stars. It was my kind of cozy mystery, so very happy about that. The next thing that I finished was Cupcakes at Carringtons. This is a standalone novel by Alexandra Brown. I listened to this in audio. This one didn't work very well for me. It is chick lit kind of book following this girl who is working in this place called Carringtons. Carringtons is, to me, what I feel like it is when what I imagined it would be. It was like Macy's or something like that, where a lot of different stores are in the same house kind of thing. And she works in a part of the store that sells bags, handbags and stuff. And then there is one woman coming in trying to change things for everyone, and makes it a rough time for our main character. And then she has 2 guys interested in her, and she doesn't really know what to do with that. So I didn't enjoy this one as much. I think I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars overall, so I definitely preferred other things. It was okay, it was fine, but it was not... I've outgrown this type of book, I think, so I don't think it's one I will... a genre or a type of romance novel that I would go for in the future, but since I had it, I read it and I finished it, and it was okay. The next thing that I finished was The Cowboy Seal Homecoming, which is by Nicole Helm. This is the first in the series that I read, and I think it's older than the other Nicole Helm books that I finished, that I read. I'm pretty sure it is. It follows, obviously, a guy who has been a seal coming home to live with at his father's ranch kind of thing, and we have this woman who is a stepdaughter. Her mother married his father, and she's sort of been working on this ranch since coming there, and has been really enjoying it, and has done a lot for the place and stuff. And he comes in, and then he wants things done his way, and she doesn't really like that. But yeah, it turns into a romance. I didn't enjoy it as much either. It was, if I compare it to the other Nicole Helm book I read, it had a lot to be decided in terms of the romance. I just never really felt it. And it did deal with some hard topics because of him being a seal. He'd seen a lot of things and some traumatic things, and was trying to work through some psychological element, but I just don't think that it was handled super well. So I ended up giving it a 3 out of 5 stars, and I don't know if I'll continue with this series, but I definitely will be continuing with her intrigue books. So yeah, we'll see what ends up happening with this one. The next thing that I finished was Beauty and the Bachelor by Naima Simone. This is the second book that I read by this author, and I wanted to try something different from her. I read Harlequin Desire, and now I wanted to try something more from her, and went with this one, which is an auction kind of thing where you bid on this man to have a date like thing, and you throw a lot of money on it. And she is actually engaged to this man, and she does a bit on this guy. She actually believes it, her fiance kind of thing, but they're masked, so they don't see the face kind of thing. And then it ends up being this other man, and he has some dirt on her family, so he persuades her to do a fake marriage kind of thing, in order to, I don't know where it came to. So she decides to go into this fake marriage in order to protect her family, and then she finds that she actually kind of likes this guy, and obviously that's often what the fake marriage situation ends up going. I enjoyed this one more than the other 2 romances that I read, and I think I enjoyed it more than the Desire book that I read. But overall, by the same author, but overall it wasn't my favorite kind of thing, but I enjoyed it enough, so I ended up giving it a 3.5 out of 5 stars, not a full 4 stars. So yeah, definitely thought it was okay. I feel like I went into sort of a weird phase where I read a lot of books that was just meh or under that. Because the next thing that I read was Cersei and a Sexy Stranger by what was the name? This is one of the Harlequin Presents. I will leave a link to my vlog up here where I read the present line. If you don't want to hear my thoughts about it right now, go, and you want to see the reactions while I'm reading it, then go and watch that, because yeah, I have thoughts. I had real issues with this one. I've forgotten right now what the author's name was, so I apologize, and I didn't write it down. But it is Heidi Rice, I think. Or is that the last one? I think this one, Heidi Rice. We follow this woman who is like working as a lifeguard. It's the end of the season. She's watching this surfer guy in trouble and ends up having to save him. And he is apparently really grumpy about it, but she wants to make sure that he's okay because he doesn't want to go see a doctor. So she goes and sees him, and then like it's terrible weather, and she ends up staying there for a bit, and they end up having this romance going on, which worked terribly for me. This was so bad in terms of the romance. I really didn't like it. I didn't like the way our hero supposedly treated our main character. There was just some things that just didn't work for me. Yeah, I don't know. This definitely didn't work for me one bit, and I ended up giving it a 2 out of 5 stars. The next thing that I finished was Temeraire by Naomi Novik. This is the first in a series. I don't know if it's called Temeraire. I forgot if that's the title name of the series as well. But we are following this man who gets a dragon egg, and we're set in Napoleonic times, I would say, and there's a war going on between England and France, and in character gets this dragon egg and obviously becomes Temeraire, and I really enjoyed the bond between Temeraire and our human, whose name I've currently forgotten. Yeah, William Lawrence is his name, and the quest that they go on. But the thing that I enjoyed the most over all of this is just the bond between these two. It was written so well, and it was weird because I've been told this before, but it's like reading a completely different author, and I definitely agree with that. I've read Uprooted by Naomi Novik, didn't enjoy it, and I read her sort of dark academia, I've forgotten the title of that book right now, Deadly Education. I think that's the title name of that one. Both of them just didn't work for me. I enjoyed it in a way, but yeah, this one just felt so different, and I really enjoyed it. I don't know if it's because it's adult, and Naomi Novik apparently works better for me when she writes adult fiction. But I'm definitely going to get all of the books in this series now. I'm going to be listening to it. This was terrible? No, this was the best thing, one of the best things that I've read in a while, and it's also been so long since I actually picked up a regular fantasy novel, so maybe that also has something to do with it, but I ended up giving it 5 out of 5 stars. I highly recommend it. The next thing that I finished was A Ring to Secure His Heir by, I've forgotten the author's name again. This one I had really high hopes for and started really well. I think I was at the halfway point before things started deteriorating. I was actually thinking this was going to be a 3.5 or 4 stars for sure, but then things just changed, and it just didn't work for me. We follow this woman who is working as a cleaning lady, and we're following this man who is sent by this other man, to look out for this woman because she apparently is his granddaughter. She doesn't know this, and wants to make sure that she's a good person, and in order to see if she could become the heir to his sort of empire, not empire, his company sort of thing. Yeah, so he does that, and they strike up a friendship or relationship kind of thing, but the way that he treats her just doesn't work for me one bit. There was a scene, multiple scenes, where she was telling him that she didn't want to do this certain thing, and he just didn't, because she didn't want to get married just because she was pregnant. She ended up becoming pregnant. She didn't want to just get married because of this. She wanted to get married because he loved her, or something like that. That they were in love, that she didn't want to get married otherwise. And every time that, it was like his word was law kind of thing, and he at one point actually dragged her away by sort of, yeah, making a scene, and it was like manhandling her and stuff. Like, it just didn't work for me. I don't know why people would think that's, no, don't want that. So I really struggle with the Presents books. End up giving this book 2 out of 5 stars as well. So yeah, not the best situation for me. The next thing that I finished was Judgement in Death by J.D. Robb. This is the 11th book in the In Death series. We're following Eve Dallas, who is a police detective in New York in 2050? About 2050, I would guess. And she is married to this multi-billionaire named Robb, who owns like all of these computer software companies in this futuristic setting. And in this one we're dealing with a murderer who is going after police people. So she is thinking that it's an insider thing, and doesn't really know how to get to it and figure it out. And yeah, there's a lot going on. I enjoyed this one a lot. It was a lot of fun being back with these characters. I did really enjoy this one. I think that the side characters always have a really good banter between them. There's so many different character relations here that I really enjoy, and I enjoyed the mystery. It wasn't like the best thing ever. I have read other in-depth books that were definitely better, but I enjoyed my time with it and I was happy to be back, so I ended up giving it a 4.5 stars, so I definitely did enjoy it overall. Last and finally, the last one I finished was Murder on Madison Square by Victoria Thompson. This is the most recent book in the Gaslight Mystery series. I don't know, I think it's 24 or 25. I've forgotten how long the series is at this point. But we're following, obviously, Detective Frank Malloy and his wife at this point. I don't know how, yeah, they're married at this point. Widower Sarah Brett. They are in like solving a mystery together because someone comes into his office. He's a private detective at this point, actually, so he's not a police detective, he's a private investigator, and they come to him for help, seeking help in order to frame someone else for a murder. And he asks the person, what if I find out that someone else did it? Would you like me to do anything about that? And he's like, no, why would I want that? I just want you to see this. I want you to find evidence that you could prove that this one person did it. But it ends up becoming more complicated than that, and they find out that someone killed someone by with automobiles. So it's a very interesting actually setting, because they were talking about, it was the first time automobiles came into the world. It's set in the turn of the century, around 1900s, early 1900s, at the turn of the century. So at this point, so it was very, very interesting, and seeing this discussion about how it was to get automobiles at this time, and that was very interesting. And yeah, you could definitely tell that there was a lot of research put into the mystery as well. So I ended up really enjoying this, so, and end up giving it a 4 out of 5 stars. It's not my favorite or anything, but I enjoy it. I always mostly enjoy them, so very happy I got back to this. Yeah, overall I think I read a lot of great books, some a good handful of meh books that I would definitely not recommend, but otherwise I'm pretty happy with my reading in general, and happy to actually be reading again. That's a big thing for me right now. So yeah, this is everything I had for read in the month. Let me know in the comments down below if you have read anything interesting. What have you been reading? Have you any recommendations to me? Also let me know about that. And if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next video very soon. Goodbye.